Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discuss all the new comics that's coming out this week. Every Wednesday is like Christmas for us nerds because that's when the new comics come out. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. But here's some other information first. We got some good news and bad news. The good news is that this is the 100th episode of Wicked Wednesday. So how about some celebratory music? Hit it. Man, time goes by fast. I'm celebrating the 2nd anniversary of creating this channel, and right now you're watching the 100th episode of Wicked Wednesday. That's all the good news. But however, there is bad news, and that is this is the final Wicked Wednesday. If you want to know all the details about why, then watch my January 4th rant video. And let me be clear, the Comic Power Network is still alive and kicking. There's plenty of outstanding content to come, and Wicked Wednesday could return someday in the future. But for the foreseeable future, I'm retiring it. So let's go out with a bang with a damn good show. And let's start with DC Comics. They're giving us Action Comics number 995, and this is part 3 of Booster Shot, where Booster Gold guest stars. We're just 5 issues away from issue 1000 of Action Comics, and this is Superman's 80th birthday. He made his debut in Action Comics number 1 back in 1938, and this is a huge deal. So we gotta do a music break for this as well. Hit it. Thank you. We already got a hint that the Watchmen universe of Dr. Manhattan is going to cross over with the main continuity of DC. Rebirth already had some Easter eggs in it, and then in late 2017, DC dropped the Doomsday Clock miniseries. Issue number 1 made my list of one of the top 20 comics of 2017. Be ready for issue 1000 of Action Comics. It's going to be monumental, so you want to get all the issues that lead up to it. The cover B variant, by the way, is done by Dustin Nguyen. He's most famous right now for his watercolor covers that he's doing for Descender. He's already won an Eisner for Best Multimedia Art. Next up is Detective Comics number 972. Speaking of anniversaries, this is the 79th anniversary of Batman, so they're going to have an issue 1000 celebration for him coming up in 2019, and that too will be a big deal. For his 80th birthday, his first appearance was in Detective Comics number 27 in 1939. This issue is part 4 of the Fall of the Batman storyline. Next up is Dead Man, number 3 of a 6-part miniseries. This is one of those characters that DC introduced in the late 60s, and he gained a lot of popularity due to the fantastic art by Neil Adams. He's part of DC's Justice League Dark continuity. In this issue, they cross him over with the Spectra, the Demon, and the Phantom Stranger. Next up is Harley Quinn number 34, and this is being solicited as That's All Folks, because Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti have a 4-year run on Harley Quinn that dates back to the New 52 that's coming to an end. DC did not show any advanced artwork for this cover, so I'm showing a collage of Harley Quinn. I'm very curious to see who the new creative team on Harley Quinn is going to be going forward. And of course, the cover B variants by Frank Cho continue. These are fan favorites. I really love these. He has such awesome storytelling in his artwork. His comedic style really works for the character. And that makes me think, if Amanda Conner is gone, then maybe Frank Cho is going to be drawing Harley Quinn interiors as well. I would welcome that. If you missed it, be sure to watch the Frank Cho video I made about his artwork. I'll leave a link in the description. Next up, we got more Harley Quinn with Harley Quinn, Be Careful What You Wish For, number 1. This is a one-shot book that was originally part of a Loot Crate. They're repackaging it and putting 18 additional pages in it and making it a Harley one-shot special and charging $5 for it. Amanda Conner both wrote and drew this, and Harley Quinn gets an infinite amount of wishes from a genie. So you can only imagine the type of mayhem she's going to unleash, right? Next up is Wonder Woman number 38. And this is part 1 of a new storyline called Swan Song. Wonder Woman is a fantastic read, by the way. I really enjoy it, and I always pick up the Jenny Frison cover B variants. Of course, those are going to continue as well because she makes Princess Diana look so regal. And speaking of swan songs, think about it. The Amanda Conner run on Harley Quinn is ending. The Wonder Woman storyline is called Swan Song. And the Wicked Wednesday program that I do is also coming to an end. I did not plan for these to sync up. That's pure coincidence. Moving right along, let's see what Marvel is up to. and that's going to be The Avengers number 675. This is part 1 of No Surrender, which is going to be a 16-part saga that's going to get us all the way to issue 700. Marvel is really serious about pushing the storyline. They're giving us an excellent cover by Mark Brooks shown here. There's going to be 9 covers in all and include some more heavy hitters such as Alex Ross shown here. He's been the man holding down Amazing Spider-Man, but he does other work as well, and it always looks fantastic. I'm not sure if a 16-part storyline is the way to go. You may have reader fatigue by the time you get to the climax, especially if they cross this over with other titles, which Marvel is known to do to boost the sales of other low-selling comics. Next up is Old Man Hawkeye, number 1 of a 12-part maxi series. And yes, this is in the continuity of Old Man Logan. It takes place about 5 years before the Old Man Logan story. Marvel is hoping there's more gold in them dar hills in this dystopian continuity. Mark Millar was the creator and writer of this universe. It's going to be a different creative team this time, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle this. I'm intrigued, so I will name this the runner-up pick of the week. Next up is Phoenix Resurrection, Return of Jean Grey, number 3 of a 5-part miniseries. And that's very well drawn art, but it's also very morbid looking, don't you think? With a live action Dark Phoenix movie in production right now and coming very soon, Marvel is really giving a push to this character. And she's arguably Marvel's most famous female character, so a blitz of her stuff is way overdue anyway. This issue comes with 4 different covers. The Stephanie Hans cover is going to be my favorite. She's rising really fast in this comic book game, so watch out for more of her work in the future. Next up is Star Wars Darth Vader number 10, and this is his showdown with Jocasta Nu. Marvel is really crushing it when it comes to the Star Wars universe. They clearly put their best artists and writers on these projects. Shown here is the Galactic Icon variant as well. That's a top-notch piece of art that's shown right here. Next up is Venom number 160, and this is part 5 of the storyline called Venom Inc. And Spider-Man and Venom have to team up once again to fight against a common enemy. That idea is pretty cliche at this point, but we still love these characters, so you're going to buy it. This issue is going to ship with 3 different covers, by the way. Next up is X-Men Gold Annual number 1, and this is going to be the 20th anniversary of Excalibur's reunion. Kitty Pryde is leading the charge, and she's wearing her old Shadowcat uniform. Since this is an annual, the cover price on this is $5. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Judas, number 2 of a 4-part miniseries from Boom Studios. This is literally a fictional take on the biblical Judas, whose name, just like Benedict Arnold, is synonymous with betrayal. In this issue, Judas comes face to face with Satan, and Satan begins to win him over. I gotta admit, that's a very interesting premise. Next up is Barbarella, number 2. This character first appeared in the French comic book in 1962, but became an icon of campy action science fiction in 1968 when she's played in live action by Jane Fonda in the movie of the same name. This is published by Dynamite Comics, by the way. I made issue number 1 the pick of the week for December 6th. I will put a link in the description so you can go back and watch that and learn more about the Barbarella character if you don't know that much about her. Next up, and also from Dynamite Entertainment, is Battlestar Galactica versus Battlestar Galactica, number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. I was a big fan of the television show that ran in the late 70s. It can be best described as a poor man's Star Wars. Dynamite is going way over the top on this book, and they're releasing this with 16 different covers. I would say that's probably about 10 too many. I was a fan, but I'm not sure about the mass appeal of this property 40 years later. Next up, and from Valiant Comics, is Bloodshot Salvation, number 5. This is a very, very, very strong story that's written by Jeff Lemire, an Eisner winner. He was ranked number 4 of one of my top 10 best writers in comics right now. Issue number 1 made my list of one of the top 10 comics of 2017 and was the pick of the week for September 20th, 2017. Link in the description so you can go back and get some information about what's going on here. The dark blue guy with the circle on his chest is Rampage, and he's the enforcer for the big bad Project Omen. Think of Rampage to Sabretooth to Bloodshot's Wolverine. This issue is going to ship with 6 different covers and they all look outstanding. The quality on Valiant Comics is always tremendous. You should be buying at least 1 title a month. Next up is Eternity number 1, which is going to a 2nd print. If you love Cosmic Kirby, then you're really going to love this. This is an offshoot of the Divinity storyline. Divinity was my number 1 comic of 2015, so if you want to know more about that, I'll have a link in the description. This is issue number 1 of a 4-part miniseries, by the way. Next up is the Speculation Pick of the Week. And that's going to be Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe, #1 of a 4-part miniseries from Valiant Comics. That's a very busy cover, but it's a very awesome one as well. This is important because it's going to cross over with the first appearance of Valiant characters in live action and a web series. In early 2016, Valiant gave us our first look at Ninjak and what he would look like, and they gave us a trailer tease as well that had a who's who of Valiant characters in it, such as Exo Man of War, Livewire, Archer and Armstrong, Bloodshot, Shadow Man, and lifelong Valiant fans like myself almost fainted. I did a video about Ninjak, about his origin, creation, who his arch enemies are, his first appearance in comics back in 1993. I'll put a link in the description so you can watch that and get more context. Think of Ninjak as James Bond meets Batman meets Daredevil. As of right now, we don't know what network this web series is going to premiere on, if it's Hulu or anything like that. But we know that it's coming soon because Valiant wouldn't release this unless the web series was ready to cross over with this. Their CEO and other top brass have been releasing Easter eggs online as well. So I would say absolutely positively get this, even if you're not a fan or if you're just speculating. I think that retailers are going to go light on this because the show hasn't dropped yet, so there isn't that much buzz for the character yet, but there will be once it comes out. This is going to ship with 6 different covers, by the way, including one from Bob Layton, who was the redefiner of Iron Man at Marvel Comics when the character wasn't selling in the late 70s, early 80s, and he's the co-creator of Exo Man of War, by the way. Before we close out the final 100th episode of Wicked Wednesday, let's look at Image Comics. They always deliver. First up is Cowboy Ninja Viking, the deluxe edition trade paperback, and it includes the full run of this critically acclaimed series. It's the story of a psychotherapist who creates a counterintelligence unit. He can't find the right people to implement the project on, so he has to use people with multiple personality disorders. And of course it turns out bad. The lead character, Cowboy Ninja Viking, literally has these 3 different personalities in his head. And what's so creative is when he speaks as the cowboy, the word bubble has a gun on it. If he speaks as the ninja, the word bubble has a sword on it. If he speaks as a Viking, the word bubble has a big axe on it. So you know which personality is talking. And this is worth your time because the lead character, they cast a C-list actor at the time who is now an A-lister. Chris Pratt is contractually attached to this project. So if it happens, he's going to be the lead star. So he's Star-Lord, but he also could be Cowboy Ninja Viking if they ever get this made. If it does, it promises to be one of the most offbeat comic book movies ever. So cross your fingers. Next up is Coyotes, #3. This is like a sci-fi horror thriller and it has some of the best covers in comics going right now. I named issue #2 the pick of the week for December 13th, so get more information about it by watching that video. Link in the description. There's some buzz starting to grow about this comic title. Like Monstrous, it's got a young female lead character in a horror series with fantastic art. Next up is Descender, going to trade paperback. This collects the Rise of the Robot storyline, which collects issues #22 through 26. This is a sci-fi action thriller space odyssey that has a universe that might be larger than Star Wars. It's amazing. Next up is Paradiso #2, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in here. I'm still trying to catch up myself. Issue #1 had an object that looked like the Infinity Gauntlet, and now they got all this weird craziness going on, and nobody knows what's going on, probably except for the author. They probably need to slow down just a little bit and give us a little piece of the story as they go. This right now looks way too complicated too early, but I'll give it a chance because Image has been so good at sci-fi horror. Next up is Port of Earth #3, and this is the story of aliens that come and they don't want to take over the Earth. They just want to use the Earth as a space portal, sort of like how UPS and FedEx will build a hub for commercial purposes. But it turns out that we can't trust these aliens. Of course not. You got to have some type of tension to have a good story, right? I named the issue #1 the pick of the week for November 8th, 2017. So if you want to know more about this, go back and watch that. Link in the description. Next up is going to be Witchblade #1, which is going to a second print. Witchblade was successfully made into a live-action TV series back in the day if you missed it. It was on TNT for 2 seasons from 2001 to 2002. Also dropping this week is going to be issue #2 of the new continuity of Witchblade, another strong female protagonist in the sci-fi epic. This is part 2 of a new storyline called Life After. The Witchblade series made its debut in comics in 1995. Next up is Slots #4. It's the story of a washed-up retired boxer who returns to Las Vegas. It's got some Frank Miller, Sin City type of overtones to it, but I still recommend it. If you're still watching, thank you for watching the 100th and final episode of Wicked Wednesday. I hate I have to suspend it for now, but I have to do what I have to do based on getting this channel to grow on the limited amount of time that I have to do it. Wicked Wednesday will return if I get it to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for your time. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give it the thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others learn about comic power. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye.